Oh no, I gotta cut that out. Oh no. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Not So Round Table. It's another takeover episode with weapons. You guys might notice that George is once again missing. He's at Bad Blood East, and Dave decided to drive all the way down.
Enjoy the last day of his freedom.
And enjoy the last day of his summer freedom.
Summer freedom, yeah. Starting Monday, I got to start watching the kids during the day.
So what better reason than to come down and film with us and do an insert takeover? Yeah. You guys are familiar with the show, the Nuts Around Table. You submit questions in previous videos. Those get submitted into the Helm of Reasoning, and then we answer them and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a live with like Kelly and...
Kelly and Ripa.
Wait, no, not Kelly and Ripa. It's Kelly, Ripa, and Regis Philbin.
Well, no, it's Michael Strahan now, right?
Who the hell is Michael Strahan?
He just left.
Oh.
So it's like...
Oh, it's
It's live with Kelly. Like, I feel like we need like big coffee mugs.
We'll make that
We
happen.
can just turn that upside down and fill that up with coffee.
Sweet. All right,
Cool.
so...
Your turn.
Yeah, so if you don't mind starting us off.
You are the guest of honors.
Yeah. All right. This is from Awesemo3. Insert, what do you think would be the best upgrade for an L96 sniper or any other bolt-action sniper? Good question. I've never owned one of those things, but I do know that there is a new HPA bolt that just...
From Wolverine.
Yeah, like just coming to market, like maybe available like this week or something like that. It's supposed to be pretty legit.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about that. I was going to mention it because I can't wait to put it in my VSR-10 as a drop-in. Because currently my VSR-10 uses the King Arms gas bolt. I don't know if you remember, it was a thing years ago where it had a green gas port on the side that you would fill through the bolt opening, or like the ejection opening.
Sort of like the HFC.
Well, it worked great, except when you mounted a scope to it, and then you couldn't fit your green gas can.
Ooh.
Not even with one of those extension nipple things.
Right, you'd have to do like an extension.
You got some pretty nice arm action going on, I'm just saying.
Filling the gas.
Oh no! All right, Ryan, would you care to?
Probably just put a Type 4 in there, because most of the guns in stock aren't going to come with like very nice barrels. So that's probably the first upgrade that I'd do. Because you know, realistically, the way that sniper rifles shoot out of the box now, most of them come upgraded to about your field limits anyway. So FPS wise and consistency wise, the spring powered sniper rifles are all going to shoot about the same. You're just trying to get more accuracy out of the gun. And so that's probably the first thing that I do. The bolts are nice, but right now I think the Wolverine bolt is only for VSR-10s. So the L96s don't apply yet, but I'm sure that I'm sure they'll release a version in the future to see, after they see if the VSR-10 bolt does well, which I'm pretty sure it will. There's a big enough HPA market now, and definitely a lot of snipers that are looking for consistent performance out of their...
Plus, it's quiet.
Snipers. Yeah,
you know, that's the ideal thing for a sniper. I've always argued that HPA makes way more sense for a DMR or a sniper than it does for a rifleman. No offense. I mean,
it's. I mean, I've got like the attention span of a gnat when it comes to trying to snipe out on the airsoft field.
Right.
You know,
me too. But
2 minutes and I'm like, okay, screw this. I'm taking my pistol. I'm gonna go do something.
It's true. I don't even know why I own a sniper rifle. I don't even use it
because it's shiny and you wanted to build something shiny. Just like the reason why.
I have no idea where I'm gonna route the airline to, because I filled the stock with foam and bolts.
Well, you're gonna clean that out then.
Yeah.
Or you could send it downwards. We could cut another hole in your stock. Just send it downwards through this like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But isn't that like the kind of allure of that? Doesn't it all fit in the stock, the whole system?
Does it?
I think there's the potential to stick like the whole.
Because I know that there's
the whole
a line...
system is encapsulated in the stock.
Oh, really? That's kind of cool.
I saw a picture on Instagram like literally within the last couple of days where I mean I could be wrong. I mean I'm wrong on a daily basis, but I'm pretty sure that they had like everything you could put it in the stock.
I thought it was externally hooked up, but
I think there's like a CO2
conversion.
Yeah.
Well, I can't use that anyway because my stock is full of bolts and washers and expanding foam.
Well,
problems.
If you want to add realistic weight to your sniper rifle, fill it with bolts and expanding foam.
If you want to have a bad time, make your gun heavier.
All right, fine. Next question. Jeez.
Cool.
Hope that answered your question. No, it's you.
Oh, okay. Sean Pennels asked, "Hey, Insert, just wondering, I've seen your This is Airsoft videos. There's a mention of blanks. How are blanks integrated into Airsoft games? Love the videos. I watch every one. They're having impact on my Airsoft here in New Zealand." Oh, cool. So, what's up? New Zealand. I didn't know that New Zealand had airsoft. I felt like I was either New Zealand, Australia. It's pretty strict.
I think it's
pretty
outlawed.
Strict. Yeah,
Yeah.
Then I guess. Yeah. Sorry, I just compared you to Australia. I know a lot of New Zealanders and Australians don't get along in that sense, but yeah. So blanks. I think of the only game that I've seen blanks integrated like as an integral part of the game has been Milsim West because they have people like if you own a blank firing gun, you register it with them, and you go through the process of making sure it's safe and all that, and then you run around as like role players and you integrate with the rest of the unit, but you shoot at other players with your blank firing gun, and then they have to react to it.
It's just for immersions.
Immersions. Yeah, it's
Pretty
cool
much.
though. Like I mean, it's definitely different to not to hear like gunshots popping off at you as opposed to like
Yeah, definitely. The
airsoft
first
games.
time, my first Milsim West game that I went to was actually at my home field at Hill 559, and I can still vividly remember we're moving down the hill, and all of a sudden I start hearing pop, 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 and I'm like, holy, what the heck's going on?
Yeah.
So I mean, it certainly like adds to the immersion factor. A more realistic thing, but even with Milsim West, you're not required to react.
Right.
Definition of react. Airsofters. Varies from person to person. Most of the guys who go to Milsim West, they want to kind of add to that immersion factor
Right.
by acting it up. But I mean,
It's the role playing aspect of
yeah.
it though. Like I mean that's cool though. Like you obviously have to like you hear gunshots going off. Your first reaction is to usually like, oh, I'm gonna move away from those.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's kind of the intention too. Is that style of play and the inclusion of blank fire really is for the airsofter that is looking for more than just slinging BBs for 4 hours. Like there's a whole culture of role playing in these games. There's an economy, and there is there is a structure, and there is a heavy amount of role playing in addition to using airsoft guns. I would argue that the airsoft guns themselves are secondary, and that the role playing itself is primary.
Well, yeah, there's no winning or losing. So I mean,
Right.
What is kind of neat though actually is that because if you play all you guys airsofters, if you see a person far enough away, a lot of times you can just look at them. Like I mean, past a certain range, like you can see people far away, but they're not going to hit you because they're airsoft BBs. But if they're firing at you with blanks, like you have to move as per Milsim West like requirements. You have to like react to it in some way. So that's kind of neat. So it sort of changes stuff up because I know I've been to other games where I'll see the enemy players like 500, 600 feet away, and I'll just be like, hi, but I mean, they're not gonna hit you, so you really have no motivation to like move. You can just sort of stare them down for X amount of time. But with the blank fire, you'll see guys, pop, 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 and you're like, oh, time to leave. So,
And of course, there are other events where they're used to enhance a personal mission. There are other games that use missions for small groups of people, and the blank fire guns help to add realism to those missions, and especially if you're doing them for training or for that realism, it really helps to put you in that.
are those like the American Milsim?
Yeah, like the dam missions.
Yeah.
Cool.
Plus, when Echo 1 guys brought out that 50 to the Victor
That was
bill,
scary.
Ridiculous.
dude.
I was talking to the guys about how much that thing cost to fire.
That was loud.
It was
$5 a round.
It was, and they
Yeah.
brought a lot of rounds.
Yeah, it's
like
$5
there was, that was a lot of money.
Yeah, it was.
dum, dum,
But
dum.
thanks.
That
you
was
guys.
cool.
That was really
The
awesome.
fireballs that came out of that thing were crazy because we thought they were propane. It was a propane
Yeah,
50, but no, it was
that
like
was
a real
legit.
blank firing 50. It was crazy.
Super legit. All right. This one's from Airsoft Obsessed 1. Dear Insert, I would like to take airsoft photos. How do I make my airsoft photos not look like garbage? I am so glad that question got asked.
I was gonna say, like, how perfect
It seems like
that
a very-
you're here.
very
so
perfect
random like that, right? This one is one of those questions that's near and dear to my heart. There's a few things that I will say right off the bat. First off, your photos should never be blue.
Okay.
That's generally a pretty good place to
Yeah,
start.
understand what white balance is. Just throwing that out there. Probably second thing, understand composition, and just to put it basically, the rule of thirds. You should never bullseye a shot, meaning, like, I'm sure on the main camera here, we're kind of spaced out where our heads are in an upper third somewhere. Your photo should never just be, like, zoomed in and all you see is, like, some dude's face in the center of the screen. That's, no. You
With
don't
no
wanna do that.
context of what's going on around it.
Exactly. You want to be able to tell some sort of a story with your photo. Another basic tip I would say if you're taking airsoft photos, change your perspective. Everybody sees things kind of at their own eye level. So try to get something, from a higher angle or a lower angle or something that you're just not used to seeing in your everyday settings. And probably one of the biggest things, and I'm not trying to sound, who cares, maybe I am trying to sound that way, do not over-process your photos. If the people in your photos or the subject in your photos have like this little halo around them, it's not because they're holy, it's because you've over-processed the crap out of it.
So for somebody like me that is not a photographer, there's a couple things that you mentioned, white balancing and over-processing. For somebody that's just starting out in photography, because I know this is something you're going to be teaching.
Yes.
How would you explain both of those processes to somebody who doesn't understand what those are?
The easiest way for like just a novice to understand is look at skin tone, look at whites. So if you're white, whatever's white in your photo looks like yellowish or bluish or greenish, your white balance is off.
Okay.
So you want to focus in on your white, hence the term white balance. Look at whatever's white and try to make that as true white as you can.
And that's a setting that you can change in the camera?
Mm-hmm. You can do it in the camera. Most people, even myself, will adjust it in post.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
but
usually
that's
the cleanest way, because then you can actually look at your waveforms and stuff. And
But that's the best
everything
way
out.
to adjust that.
Okay, and then when you mention over-processing, I know with the advent of smartphone cameras, you have a tremendous amount of filters and adjustments that can happen in the palm of your hands, right? And so what you're saying is that oftentimes people translate that into something on the photography side as well when you're doing a camera, going through filters, or is it more involved in
Yeah,
that?
sometimes less is better or less is more.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of those who are maybe newer to it think that, oh, well, if I add this effect and this effect and that filter, and it looks better. When in reality, I mean, you kind of degrade your photo.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Too
mean,
many effects.
you want something that's crisp and sharp. And got good composition. Having good color, vibrant color is also good. Again, not overdoing it, but something that is nice and clean and crisp and I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said about restraint. Like there's, you can tell when someone is like, when you first get a hold of like a processing program for your photos or for your video or whatever, and then you just sort of play with the sliders and you make it like super dramatic, super like overly processed. You can definitely tell it doesn't look natural. That's when you can sort of tell like it's too much. But that's something that, if you're starting off, I would say find some photographers or some pictures and styles that you like and figure out the best way to like replicate them and sort of like work towards that, because it's all practice. Like no one starts off like perfect doing exactly how they want to do it, but definitely have like some people that, or some photographers and styles that you look up to, and try and replicate that as best you can. But after a while, you'll notice that like it definitely looks better when you don't try and go all out on some of the effects and looks and stuff.
Yeah, certainly with photography, something I've told a lot of people who have just started out, you got to break a lot of eggs to make that omelet.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I mean, there are plenty of horrible photos that I have taken with very expensive camera equipment. So even if you go out and buy, for instance, a Canon 5D, or I'm running the 1D, you can still take horrible pictures with a $6,000 camera. Trust me, I've got a catalog that's got plenty of horrible photos.
Are you
in
releasing that? Is that going to be
Yeah, no.
like Airsoft Obsessed blooper catalog?
Nah.
I'd pay for that.
Or, do what I do, leave it to the professionals. No.
He constantly has a photographer just following him around. All the pictures on his Instagram aren't
Such
his.
a lot. All
Aren't
right.
his.
He's
He's too big for that now. He's got his own guys to do it to the professionals.
That's cool, man. Savage Man Milk asks.
Randy Savage?
Nope, just Savage Man Milk.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, insert one more question. He must have answered the question initially. What is your preferred CQB FPS limit? Mine is no more than 400 FPS.
Is there people that answer higher than that? I mean, I feel like 400's a pretty good. I mean, when you say CQB FPS, that's 350 for me.
I'm thinking indoor.
That's
right.
like what, but I've had no choice because that's usually not on us. If it were up to me, like 400 would be cool, just 400 across the board. But most fields say 350 for insurance purposes and for player comfortability and stuff. But
NorCal seems to be the Wild West then.
Oh, really?
Yeah, GamePod and CQB City, both of the two large CQB facilities up in Northern California. They're both 400 FPS.
But you're like you say CQB facility, but like the size of those compared to what we have down here.
Game Pod is big,
Yeah.
definitely. CQB City it's a lot
close
smaller.
quarters, yeah.
It's still pretty big though. I don't know. I remember when I went, I was still pretty impressed with how big it was. Because even I think even Tac City South is probably the closest thing that we have to like Game Pod or not Game Pod. CQB City's size, and even that is nowhere near the same amount of
CQB
size.
City is 400 FPS with 0 MED.
Okay, that's what I was going to say is, for me, it's less about the maximum FPS and more about the minimum engagement distance. I would prefer fields personally. Okay, this is no reflection on the industry itself, but for me personally, if the field limit is 350, I think that's low enough that you can have a 0-foot minimum engagement distance and everyone will be okay. As long as the other requirements safety-wise are in place. Full seal, face protection, not overshooting, no full auto. Because that just gets, if you want to do full auto, then there should be a minimum engagement distance, because inevitably someone's going to get blasted. So yeah.
Even I'm sort of okay with that though. It's just I don't know. It's just don't lie. You want to go full auto, no minimum engagement. I don't know. For me, it slows down the game. I hate minimum engagement distances because it slows down the game. I hate having to stop and double check how far I am from somebody. I hate having to stop in the middle of the game to argue with somebody that it was too close, not far enough, etc.
I hate the guys who run around and use surrender as their offensive weapon.
That too.
Run, surrender. It's like
it doesn't require you hitting anything.
No.
It just you just have to yell in the general direction.
I'm pointing my finger at you and yelling surrender.
I do that.
I would much rather just.
But I yell it aggressively. Like, I yell it in order to scare people.
You should yell it.
Like,
in a
I'll come
different
around
language.
a corner, like when someone's not paying attention. I was like, surrender! And you'll see them like, oh! Like, they didn't realize you were there. I feel like that's.
He's just out there to scare people.
Yeah. Like, I
Pick on
could have
little
popped
kids.
you, but instead, I just scared the bejesus out of you.
And then you shoot them.
And then shoot. No.
They put their hands in. Cool.
All right.
People love me in CQB because I take up the whole hallway.
Oh, nice. You
So
just
like I'm the easy target.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
guess
the guy
that's
you
true.
want to stack behind.
Cool. Well, you have no
And
choice
body
at that
shield.
point.
Yeah.
Dave's gonna take that BB.
Cool. So ZBomber4 asks, how can I gain respect on the airsoft field? I'm only 13.
Okay. How do I gain respect?
Yeah, gain respect. I mean, there are always going to be people that don't respect you because of your age, just regardless. Like, those people will always be there. I'd say just play the game. You know, don't cheat. Don't complain. Like, complaining is the thing that irritates me the most, I guess, with other players on the field. Like, having to constantly hear someone complaining about, like, oh, they're not calling their hits, like, X, Y, and Z. It's just like, just play the game. If you're really that frustrated, just leave. Like, if you're not having a good time, it doesn't do anything to complain. Like, obviously, if you think people are cheating, you know, report it to the refs or field staff. But past that, there's really not a whole lot you can do. And anything else that you're gonna do is, you know, just don't like take it any further than that. And if it's really that big of a deal, just leave. But otherwise, like, respect. Yeah, I mean, just play the game and, you know, try and have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously. That's probably the best thing that I can say about it. Yeah.
I would say playing honorably is probably the tops of the tops. You know, don't be afraid to ask questions and listen. You know, doing what I've done as a career job, which you guys know, in education. There's a lot of kids who are young and they feel like they already know everything. You know, and you know, me as an old guy, it would go a long way if somebody came up and asked me, "Hey, how do we do this?" or "What should I be doing?" You know, and maybe asked for those things rather than showing up somewhere thinking, "Dude, I played friggin' 2 days worth of Call of Duty. I own this." You know what I mean?
But they do. That's 2 whole days of Call of Duty, man. That's
yeah, I know. I'm on like 2 days of Division.
nice.
I'm
Yeah, so
afraid to admit that, but
you're like 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. No, but I mean, just playing the game honorably, I think, is the best way to do it, and don't bring like an attitude, because unfortunately, the truth is, a lot of older people, like, you know, my age or whatever, kind of already don't like playing with kids, because you know, I'm an operator, I shouldn't be playing with kids, but I don't know.
Ruins your immersions.
My immersions are ruined.
Your immersions are ruined when you got to stack up.
You're grounded. Go to your room.
Is that what you yell going around the corner? Like, go to your room!
Someone's just like, surrender! You're grounded! Get off my field!
What?
I'll see you at lunch for detention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At my airsoft field. In addition to what you guys have both said, I would say for a, I'm assuming here, but if you are new to airsoft, it's very easy in the first week, month, year, 2, 3 years. It's very easy to be apprehensive of the pain of being hit with a BB. And so I think you'll find that most experienced airsofters become frustrated with newer players for not moving or participating with the battle at hand. And so it's very easy to wait in the back, or behind cover.
That's a good point.
Until it's safe or until there's not as much action going on. And I understand that, like you have to get used to the welts of airsoft, but you're also playing a spobby, to quote Bob Lee,
Yes.
a sport hobby. But you're also playing a spobby that involves projectiles and involves shooting at people. And so embrace that. You are going to get hit, and that's okay. Pain. The pain that from a BB hit is very, very temporary, and ultimately the only person that you're damaging the game for is yourself, because you're not participating at the front where all the action's happening. You're waiting in the back, and you're not really having as much fun as you could be having. So I think in addition to being very, very on top of following the rules and calling your hits, being a good sport and asking questions, I would say move more often. Try to participate in the front of the action instead of the back.
Embrace the suck.
Good answer. All right.
How many do you want to do?
Probably, let's see.
You wanna do one more
Yeah,
question?
that'll be probably the last one.
All
All
right.
right.
Sylvie Cat Green. This one is for all of you.
Yeah.
All
If
right.
you were drafted to be in some part of the military and you had a choice, Navy, Air Force,
Oh.
Marines, Army.
That's a repeat.
We've answered that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Deuces, homie.
Deuces.
Sorry, Chris
Homie.
Brown.
Bear Team Airsoft 3 asks, Dear Insert, does an airsoft line battle sound fun?
Oh, answer
Well,
that
we
one
answered
too.
that one too. What's going on here? George leaves and everything's screwed up.
Well, there's only 2 more questions in here, so
Well,
we're
hopefully.
almost done.
All right.
Maybe we can make up some more questions. All right. Which hair product do you use?
American Crew. Occasionally.
All right. Stanley Mark 19, because he's one better than a Mark 18.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Dear Insert, Operator, you guys mentioned a few times using Simunition. Where and how did that occur? I'm sure I'm not the only one interested. Simunition, if we're playing with Simunition, I quit. I don't want to play with Simunition.
That's a very specific kind of game.
Yeah. Well, okay, so have you done Simunition?
No.
Oh, have you?
No, you're the only one that's actually
I'm the
done
only one.
simulation.
Yay! Okay, so without getting too, storytelling, a couple years ago at Forge Airsoft in California, we had the opportunity. Forge Airsoft was a training facility in addition to being an airsoft field on the weekends. And in their training capacity, they provided a facility for SWAT teams, local police departments to train in an indoor, close quarters combat environment. The layout of the field, which you might see in a lot of the Node Trouble in Terrorist Town and Murder games, is organized like a variety of rooms that could have existed in a house or school, with hallways and doors and things. And one of the services that Forge Airsoft offered was a Simunition training tool. So we went to Forge a couple years ago when we first started developing our relationship with them as a field, and had the opportunity to try out Simunition. Some of the major differences between Simunition and Airsoft, obviously, you're using a real firearm. There are no two ways about it. It is a real gun that has been modified to shoot a Simunition round. And the only modification really is the rounds themselves, using a much smaller amount of gunpowder and the barrel to be able to accept the Simunition rounds. But for all intents and purposes, you're shooting your friends with a real gun. And to be honest, when we first did it, I had some serious qualms about that, because while it's easy for me to play airsoft and to role play and enjoy that, holding a real firearm and pointing it at a real friend of mine caused me a lot of trepidation. So it was it was very difficult to get used to. But ultimately, we went and did it. Naturally, because it's a real firearm, it requires a huge amount of protection as opposed to airsoft guns. You're wearing like a full kind of shoulder protecting head situation, and those don't breathe very well, and they fog up incredibly easily. So unless you're Will Willis doing AR simunition with just shooting glasses on, and you're a beast, I just can't get there with you. But we did it, and we enjoyed it as well as we could. They hurt. I wouldn't say a whole, because these are 9mm Glocks. They don't hurt a whole lot more than. The wax bullets of simunition don't hurt a whole lot more than an airsoft round. They've got a little bit more punch to them. Getting nailed in the crotch really sucked for the guy that I accidentally nailed in the crotch.
Didn't have like a...
You should wear a cup. You should. 100%. We did not. But yeah, and they're very expensive, and they can malfunction all the time. And half the time the wax rounds don't break, and so you don't know if you've been hit or not. So then you get this pain, but because there's no mark, you don't call it.
Nice.
But I think the single biggest reason for doing it is it makes you very, very conscious of how many rounds you have, because a Glock has, depending on where you are,
17,
right,
10, 15.
Right, and so the ones that we used here in California had 10 rounds, and so in a CQB setting, it's not like airsoft where you've got the luxury of being able to miss. The amount of adrenaline you have is much higher. That means you need to really slow down and take your time to aim. It puts a lot more pressure on you to count, and so...
I would think that would be left more for law enforcement or military training.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's also really expensive. Like, it's just, you can't...
I mean, don't those things... what's the FPS on those things? Like 600 or 800 FPS?
I mean,
I don't know, actually.
I don't know, way too much for my liking.
So after doing it, with the advancements in airsoft and the affordability relative to simunition, I don't know why anybody, law enforcement or otherwise, would ever do simunition again, because airsoft is so much better. It's cleaner, it's more practical, the rounds are cheaper, and you accomplish the same training goals if you limit the rounds.
I think the only thing that might be a benefit of simunition is if the effect of getting hit.
Right.
Getting hit with an airsoft BB is not going to have much of a lasting, feel. Or if
that and the manipulation of like the actual handgun, like the trigger pull, all those other things that you get on the actual handgun.
It's a bit different. It's not exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
So
it's a little because your round is because the slide has been modified to take simunition. You don't have the same.
Oh, I thought you said it was only the barrel.
No, it is, but it's different enough that it's.
Oh, okay then.
Same but different.
It's same but different.
There's another company making different simunition style rounds now. The UTM.
Yeah.
The UTM rounds, and those are actually like only the power on those is like a lot less.
Yeah.
It's only like 400 FPS, and then they're claiming that it's like cleaner and stuff because it's not using it's using plastic tips as opposed to like the paint.
Or you could just use BBs.
I could use that too.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks again for joining us on the Not So Round Table. Dave, thanks for coming all the way down.
My
here.
pleasure.
Always a great time when we have other people on the show. George, sorry you couldn't be here.
But you're having fun at Bad Blood.
That's true. That's true. And sorry to the Bad Blood East guys because we couldn't make it out this year. Maybe next year we can make it out. We'll see you next time on the Not So Round Table. If you have any future questions, make sure that you comment in the section below so they go into the helm of reasoning. We need a refill.
Yeah.
See you guys later.
Bye.